Tansei. I'm Todd Lyons, and I just wanted to take a few minutes today to talk about old school magic items and such. And specifically, I was interested in this oldie but a goodie supplement that you can download from the BF RPG website. And this is called The Magic Shop, written by Martin Teasdale in 2015. So it's still under the old open game license version, but still 100% compatible with even the brand new 4th edition of BF RPG, which came out in June. So, as usual, I'm not going to read the text. It's a 4-page document, pretty easy to get through real quickly. But what I do want to do is maybe draw your attention to his how to use this supplement section right at the beginning, because it's short. And I think I'm in full agreement with what he says, because the overall message is not to cheapen these things in a way that I think is done by certain modern games that turn magic weapons into commodities, things that you can just go out and buy from a storefront, without too much work. And I really want to underscore the fact that in OSR, in old school, there are no stores just selling the stuff openly. You can't just walk into a Halberd depot where a guy in an orange chainmail vest walks up and assures you, "You can kill it. We can help." Think of the security requirements of even running a small shop packed full of expensive magic items. The thieves would clean them out in one night. There's a reason you have to go adventuring to get these sorts of items typically. And the stuff that isn't possessed by other adventurers is probably in the hands of private collectors. It's in the storehouses of militias. It's in the armories of kingdoms. It's in the hands of black market traders. Or it's in the shops of craftsmen and mages. So if you want this stuff, you have to be gifted it, earn it, steal it, trade for it, possibly at your peril, or find someone that's willing to make it for you. And none of that should be easy. There will be strange meetings and odd locations through a friend of a friend. There'll be time spent waiting for it to arrive or to be made for you. And all of this presumes that your characters have enough of a reputation that people are open to even doing business with you. To create and to maintain a mystique about the value, the rarity of magic items, it should be very expensive or difficult to buy this stuff outright. And if you're trading for it, you should expect to lose in the overall exchange, because it's commerce. If it's a +3 sword that you're looking for, maybe the person that's willing to do a backroom deal with you wants 3 + 1 long swords and maybe some cash on top of that. Quantity plus cash for the higher value item that you're specifically looking for. It's up to the GM. And another thing to consider is perhaps it's not even possible to get stuff permanently. Have you read any of Fritz Leiber's Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser series? It's one of my 2 favorite series of all time. With all apologies to J.R.R., Michael Moorcock's Elric is probably the other one that I've read the most. But anyway, I love Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. If you do some careful reading through my book of NPCs, Chrysogon's Coterie, you may even pick up that there are some doppelgangers, some homages to those 2 characters. At a point where they haven't discovered each other yet, and it's not deep, like all the characters there. It's just a sketch, but you may sort of think, here's 2 people that really need to find each other because they're better together. Anyway, back on track. If you've read that series by Fritz Leiber, you're familiar with Ningobel of the 7 Eyes and Shilba of the Eyeless Face. And I recall that they provided magic items temporarily sometimes in order for the characters to accomplish specific goals. And that's something you could learn from, something you could use. I remember Fafhrd receiving something called the Blindfold of True Seeing. And I'm not going to spoil it for you. It's the way it's described, and his doubt about whether this is a real thing that actually works, and how it ends up actually working, and how it both protects him from danger and helps him to achieve what he's trying to do. It's all interesting. It's worth reading. You should read the series. But in any case, it was snatched away as soon as that mission was over, because he did want to hang on to it. And that may seem a bit harsh, but I want you to remember that putting the human nature into this game is what creates it as a more realistic, immersive experience. And remember that desiring something is always much more powerful than possessing it. To yearn for a thing is intoxicating in a way that holding it in your hand is not. And you know it's true. You've ordered from Amazon or some similar service like that, where the anticipation of receiving something can be so much more satisfying than actually having it. There are probably things you purchased, and somehow getting it was the most important thing in the world to you. And then, it just kind of sits up on the shelf, and you know that it's there, but it doesn't have that power over you anymore that it did when it was something you did not have. So take a lesson from your observations of your own behavior and other people's behavior and weave it into the game to make magic a more real but elusive experience for your players. You can create and maintain that mystique and desire by making magical things difficult to have. Don't penalize your players, but keep them busy and keep them grateful for what they have for the amount of time that they have it for. Make them work to get those items, and make them work to keep those items. Remember, there are thieves that want to steal what they have. There are con men and women that want to peddle them fakes. Remember that to the NPCs, to the other characters in your campaign, your party, your characters are the monsters. They are the ones that possess the things that other people want. Anyway, let's take a quick flip through. It's like I said, it's only 4 pages for this, but I like it. It's a nice little tool, and even if you just use it as an indication for relative value or worth, how you actually manage the acquisition, the trading, the replacement, the upgrading of items in your world is completely up to you. But this at least allows you to have some numbers. And throughout, I can see that there's both a random way of assessing a value of an individual item, and there's just a flat average column. So if you don't want to do a calculation, you just want a flat number to give you a ballpark, there it is in the average column. So there's magic weapons from +1 to +5. I've yet to see anything greater than a +3 in the games that I've ran or played. So that gives you some idea. There is, for the +1s and that have a +2 against a special enemy, there's both a random value and an average cost for those things. And then special abilities. This is sort of a surcharge on top of the item from the previous chart. If it has cast light or it drains energy, there's an additional surcharge that you can calculate as a random value, or you can just add that with the average that's in column 2. Same with magic armors, from leather armor to plate mail +3, and shields +1 to +3. And potions. So if you can find someone that's willing to make you a potion, or trusts you to meet them somewhere, or, God forbid, invites you to their laboratory, here's what they might have on hand. And there should never be like a one-stop shop for all this kind of things. You need to create NPCs in your world, and I have some people like that in my book that I wrote. or people that could easily be made into that sort of character, where they specialize in a certain discipline, a sub-discipline of creating certain kind of potions, and your players may be able to get them, if they can maintain a good relationship with this person. And here's what that person might charge. I kind of feel like strange random values, they're not good for math. Maybe you don't want so much math in your game, and it's nice to have nice round figures. But I sort of like the randomness. And maybe that's because we live in a world where the cost of food and other things is fluctuating and stuff goes up and down. In your world, maybe the same thing is happening. Whatever that the mistletoe or the main ingredient of that special potion, it's gone up in price recently, or it's become more scarce. So maybe it's going to be more expensive this time than it was the last time. Anyway, completely up to you. Scrolls and rings. So each of these things, there's a person out there that, they are not a jack of all trades. They can't make everything. There are specialists there that their specialty is to make one category of things and make a certain number of varieties of things. But no one person can make anything. And if you really want to keep things simple so that there is just the one character, then the amount of time that it'll take them to make something that's obscure, something that's different for them, it's going to be less successful or more time consuming to create something successful. And your players just have to be aware of that. Yeah. And then miscellaneous magic items. And this stuff is all over the place. So finding an individual that could make any one of these things, or a category of things, like just the clothing things. You might be able to find a craftsman. This is the sort of stuff that I would see that it's black market, it's a backroom deal, it's someone that's got they'll meet you on the pier at midnight or something like that to get one of these things. But there's not a shelf, there's not a store that you can walk into where these things are just all for sale. Wands, staves, rods, yeah. You have to have a good relationship with with your own Ningoble, your own Shilba of the Eyeless Face. Someone may make these things or loan these things to you. But anyway, as far as being able just to put a number on things, to figure out, well, how much work do they need to put in, how much cash, how many magic items do they have to try to trade, to barter in order to upgrade that +1 sword to a +2, whatever it is they're trying to do. It's a very good tool. At least gives you a starting point. You're not working from nothing. So I hope this has been helpful.